Okay, Vision in Action. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul, by the way. We've been involved in this project since last January. It's the project update number 9. It's a little community centre in North County Dublin. There's nearly been, I suppose, 9 months of effort has kind of got into this at various stages. So we're going to have to do a bit of a download, try a lean teamwork approach between myself and Bernard. So introduction, retrospective summary, some lessons learned is a key thing. People who've seen it before will have seen the project, and some conclusions. So intro, really, why was it we get involved in this? It was a steering group meeting in CITA in autumn 2012, and we felt that the 2012 workshop series was really high level, all about BIM. What's it about? What are the UK government strategy? What are they doing? And really, people who are new to it, it was really a lot over their heads. We said, well, let's ground it by doing a pilot project, and we wanted volunteers to sacrifice their time for the sake of, raise all boats. And Bernard Voortman stepped up straight away, and I was asked to be chairman. So doing a lot of reading around this time, and you can't beat Confucius. I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. So we said, let's do it and learn by direct experience and share that. So why is it called not BIM? People refer to it as actually commonly the BIM pilot, but it's actually not. We're trying not to be about BIM, because BIM is confusing for a lot of different people depending on where you are in AEC or operator or in FM. Well, it means different things, and the kind of information you want from all that is different. So we said, let's just take that term out of it altogether. It's just going to be a technology project, and we're trying to shift the focus deliberately away from the architectural engineering construction to operation and maintenance. It's one of my favourite curves when it comes to BIM, the Garden Hype Cycle, and I saw at that time loads of stuff, inflated expectations of what you can do, and this can do this and that. So we said, well, let's skip all that stuff and try to get to a better way by trying to be transparent about what we're doing. So how do we set it up? We set up this mind map with some goals, some people, and Paul, I'll break that down a little bit, but really this was about pillars of the project. Respect for people, which for me was a bit unusual in the construction industry, because people tend to dump on people a little bit of my experience. And Kaizen, continuous improvement. They're directly from the Toyota production system, if you know. So, and these were 5 vision goals, which I'll return to later, and I'm going to skip on. People involved, we had a core team. So we had architect, engineer, we had a QS, we had a contractor. And we tried to pull that, and so we were going to drive it, and then we had support team where we had a steel fabricator, we had a surveyor, we had a DIT researcher, and we had also an FM guy, and tried to do this whole kind of IPD level of thinking, try to bring people in early. We also, on the other side, we had a client side, because it was a real site in Fingal, which is North County Dublin, and we had 2 senior planners, really very enthusiastic and taking a standoff approach, because they're not really the client, they don't own the site, it's not going to be developed. But it's their encouragement, and also the local community. And we had a meeting in early January, all very enthusiastic, and it's proof that the sun does shine in Ireland, if nothing else.
Great. I have to say, Paul, my settings here were wrong. We have a timer, and I put in 20 hours instead of 20 minutes. So I think we'll have to press on very, very quickly.
Go, yeah.
Now, the main thing here is as architects here, we did a few village design framework plans in association with Icon Architecture Fingal. We had a few plans done. We came to the last one, Rowlestown, and typically we produce maps, information like this, purely 2D. But in this instance, the project that we did with Icon, the site was completely hilly and a lot of topographical constraints. So we came back to the client and said, look, we're going to build a whole digital model, virtual model of the whole village. And we decided then in the end, well, why not use that as a context for this pilot project? So here you can see this little building, that's the community centre. It looks brilliant. Well, it's an existing building. You see a lot of these in villages. So it's a kind of project could be repeated across the board, but it needs refurbishment, it needs new use. And this is a meeting on site, and you can see the building, to the left, and it's nice. So you had a lot of issues, and sometimes easier to say, look, clean slate, we do a new building. But it is a challenge.
So we kicked it off at the end of January. Was the first presentation. Deborah Rowland from the UK, head of facilities management, the Cabin office. She was over giving the presentation, and I was So as it turned out, I'm just going to go through our experience now. So as it turned out, I happened to be down in Limerick at the time of this presentation. As I was chairman, it was kind of my duty to introduce the team and kind of fill them in. So we ended up doing a remote connection, and we got to experience, well, technology is great, except it doesn't work maybe sometimes so well. So the audio quality wasn't so good. So we launched the project. This is a UAV, unmanned aircraft, flew over the site. That's the school there to the north. And this is what we got back from the surveyors as a 3DS file, which is literally, I think of this as beautiful texture. That the UAV flew over about 450 feet over the site, and we got this beautiful texture, which I think of as like a cloth that dropped over the site. But because it's like that, the building was picked up like that. There was actually a cow in the field that was picked up, the shape of the cow, which was interesting. And then we did a laser scan by Coastway of the building, which
actually that was actually a horse, but it looked like more like a cow. So we have the clouds model data from Coastway, 300 gigabytes of data. Like, how possibly are going to introduce that into our model? Very, very difficult. So we're both in the clouds for quite a while. Now, using Macs is not always evidence. We don't have full accessibility to the software. So we went through Parallels virtualization software, and then we were lucky enough then to use Faro Scene for, take measurements, and also use then auto-rectified images with the point cloud data, which was simplified, and used the data to build the existing structure of the building, like steel structure as well, existing zones we established all as existing. We could have a Kobe data drop. We put on some textures as well. As architects, we really want the model to look good, so we have an informed decision about how we're going to tackle the building, show it to the clients. So the brief here was to assess the building, to improve the energy rating, and also include for retail elements. So we decided as architects, look, we're going to very, very high tech. So we went to the beach, have an interactive session, and drew a few diagrams on the grounds. And it's like, well, that's not a bad idea. It works just to free your mind a bit, be in the fresh air, use a bit of Photoshop at the end to show what we did. So the retail elements, existing hall, creche, very basic concept. And then you have the also high tech then, simulations of, the building and how it performs in winds. Then we decided, look, we have 3D zones. We interactively designed with, that was on Skype with Icon, Ross Cahill O'Brien as well. Different session with Paul Sexton online, plan view, just the same thing, similar situation. We developed a model very quickly, scheme design only, of course, and we tested that design then again in the same software package to see the impact on the entrance area.
And I came to March was probably our most productive month, where we actually had a lot of people, a lot of the team members engaged. Was one of the principles, trying to level the data flow among team members and break down these kind of silos. We had Kobe data exchanges, quantity takeoff, site logistics, and you can read them. Read the rest of them there. So Kobe Data Exchange really was looking interactively at how bits of information might flow between different members of the team, and actually for the FM guys particularly, even at this early design stage, what was important for facility management, because a designer, we're not often exposed to that kind of requests. So this was a lot of the interaction with GoToMeeting. As much as possible, we were all using our own tools, except educational licenses of software, because we didn't want any perceptions of undue influence or pressure so we tried to stay as neutral as much as possible, and of course then use everything free. And what's relevant for small practices like ourselves, and what information is going to do. These are the kind of questions that were falling out of it. Who does all the drops? Who inputs all the information? Like this. So we did quantity takeoff in cost X. You would have heard some presentations on this, and this is one of my favourite slides provided by Trevor Woods. It's every profession, I think, thinks every other profession has a big red button they just press, right? And they forget about the process people have to go through to come up with the logic and theoretical and practical justifications for why they do what they do. So, and another slide from Trevor. This is our building. He came out initial takeoff. It was 165 cubic meters of concrete, and he said automatic quantities is great, but Paul Sexton's an advocate for lean construction, which I am. Lean mixed construction, more like, because you can see it's actually, there's the building. It's picking up all the roadways that were originally part of Burnet's original model. So using models for maybe not quite appropriate, you're a little bit. You just got to be very wary. Looking at the site logistics, this was in Synchro, and we had John Paul Construction at the time. They were helping us with the logic of how a site actually would be tracked now. So deliberately trying to bring the contractor on board. And then this building really got interesting, because we discovered that it's actually on its third life at the moment, where it was originally built in 1957, which is that building is about a 12-metre span, little small community hall, like many little community halls around the place, and they literally extended over it. So the structure itself is a big mishmash of a lot of different things, and it's not. So it's really different. We had great ideas about what we were going to do at the site, and greenfield site. So, but most of the building stock is existing. So these kind of issues happen all the time. So how do you deal with this in a BIM space?
So here you can see we're in March now. We did a lot of work up until now. We developed the plan quite in detail. We have some kind of renders generated just to give an impression as well, to communicate with clients actually and the team members. This was just actually generated in less than a minute. I remember my time at UCD where we had to wait for half a day, and we had to do something else in the meantime just to have a very, very simple render. So we just did quite a few of them very quickly. Did the whole terrain as well, mapped the image on it, highly effective. This is actually a screenshot of the screen I'm using, to design things. So we showed that to the client as well, highly effective, before, after. Then went to the clients with the iPad, interactive virtual walkthrough, and he was asking me, like, look, when can we have the building? It's just, it may happen in the future. It seemed to be all solved. Yeah. So that was just, in action. Also, MEP collaboration very quickly. IFC files downloaded into EcoSim, Revit, a few small issues, but it will be sorted nowadays. Communication. Eye-to-eye communication always better than online, but online works very, very well, as we did. Energy solution I have to go through quite quickly. Simulations. Also, sometimes we thought like the file we had, IFC, had a few errors, but actually I went back to his office and his own MEP modeler had these same issues. So sometimes you may be a bit misguided in how the translation may work. So that was integrated into the model, into Tekla BIM site. Whole federated model came together. We had also pre-planning meetings. Client again met on site, discussed, every single time, every single month presenting. It's very hard. The next month we have to prepare a presentation. This was all about costs, went into cost decks, huge amount of fields, cells, almost 100,000. What do we do with it? Model map, to make a bit of sense of it. And they came down to 2.2 million, actually. As an architect, I just made a quick calculation per square meter, and it came to 1.3. So it just clearly tells me I shouldn't really, be doing this kind of work, perhaps, No, but again, like, it gives you a false impression, like you could do this, but you can count the tiles. All.
Yeah, and this is so you got the pre-construction stage. It was in June. We had Stewart's at this stage, John Paul Construction. They were working down in the Middle East. The guy we had run, so he had to step aside, and we had Stewart's. Kieran O'Connor stepped in. So again, took the site planning, and then with a BIM model, and you've probably seen loads of simulation stuff. You can have any kind of dinky toys that you imagine around that site, and you can make it look like anything. You can move them around, and it's great. But the real value. We'll see. But from a structure, from my own perspective, it was really interesting to actually modelling in a 3D environment, working inside the architecture and around the M&E. It was actually just a different way to think about that. We also took the model in the Synchro to look at clash detection, and also Tekla BIM site, which we just found to be just sensational, to be quite honest. And again, it's a free tool, freely available. So again, as much as possible, we're trying to use some of these free tools and viewers. But at the end of the day, very apparent to us, real construction, actually this is what happens. You actually need real people on the ground to sort out some of the problems that maybe they weren't being able to. And then we had to take a break.
Yeah, we had to take a break, went on the beach, did some interactive modelling, and also in situ, testing out, always very interesting. We also then, the last actually presentation in September, precast elements, prefabrication. Newton Manufacturing provided us with steel structure, absolutely amazing stuff. Dropped into ArchiCAD, absolutely fantastic. Kingspan, exactly the same thing. They spent 1 day to produce this roof system, dropped in perfectly. We had a presentation, actually, the last one 2 weeks ago, where Paul was in Germany, and he had to appear in a virtual, manner, in a virtual model. So we can show you that presentation later on, perhaps at lunchtime or so.
Yeah, it might be the play by at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then this is a famous picture, because really this is what it was all about. That October was a very important month for us, because this is Lyle, famous Lyle from the US. Not sure where US Army or one of the US facilities, but also these are the other two are from Irish projects that Bobby Gallagher, DFM, it was a stand here that he was our DFM side of it. So really it was all about taking those IFC exchanges in and how is that going to be mapped through. And we actually found quite a really good workflow for doing that. Also we developed a synchro simulation of that. But we could have done a lot more, right? This is awesome. There's 8 screens, 2 meters by 1 meter. It's 6 meters by 2 meters, touch screen with the same sensitivity as on your mobile phone. And that's the Google Earth in Rowlestown. That's the IBM Innovation Campus. Wanted to get them all. great fun. So lessons learned quickly, vision and action. This is actually the plan for the presentation, what we're going. For me, analog works. Humans, we think in analog and visual. You see the last planner stuff, lean thinking tools, a lot of it's about post-its sitting around, figuring it out in your head first. The software is not going to do anything. It should be about a tool for how you use it. It was a virtual project with a virtual site on a virtual client on a real site, even though there was real people around, but we had different expectations, and again we're going to be cut for time. But really the motivation was risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, so we had these high level aspirations and maybe trying to get out of the comfort zone, using loads of different technologies, trying to aim high and try to develop the learning. But this is the really key lesson, that people and process is absolutely 100% believable. People are highly variable, and thank God for that, because life, I don't know how much it would be worth living. And process is at Optimum it's non-linear. And I think some of the lean thinking concepts that you've heard about yesterday are really key. So working in silos, I'm going to skip that. BIM execution plan, absolutely essential at the start of the project. It finds who's doing what, when they're doing it, and how they're going to do it, how are we going to exchange information. Oh.
Sorry, I have 16.
God, Bernard, what happened there?
16 gig. See, what happens? When technology fails, do you have a plan B?
And technology is a big issue. We're dealing with the point cloud, and it's a really serious issue. We had to deal with the point cloud over the month of February. That's a graph of my internet broadband spike dealing with data clouds, gigabytes of data. Small businesses don't know what you want to do. Like the idea of surveyors modelling and getting an as-built model of the existing is a key thing. Doing it yourself is a little bit fraught with dealing with the big numbers, because systems crash, can't handle it. But technology is great, and again, I'm not a computer and I don't want to be. This is my own personal thinking about where it's at. BIM, I use in inverted commas, but BIM and lean plus the design thinking, I think there's a whole much larger element to that. BIM is the tool that's helped, but it's got to be founded. For me, I'm an engineer. It's got to be founded in laws of physics, reality of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and that human element people have heard about. So just the project and vision goals, integrate to collaborate. Did we do that? Yes, we did, absolutely. Create process flow. Well, we had really some good and bad and highs and lows, but I think we helped do that. Shift the focus from AC. At every opportunity we try to do that. And removal of waste, well, a little bit so. Create real value for all stakeholders, well, and skip on, but certainly, BIM doesn't come in a box. You gotta define it. And BIM is a tool. Yeah, men become the tool or tools. You certainly don't want to be one of them. And also, this idea of one model, I don't agree with the concept. There's a multi-model concept where everyone, different disciplines, throw it into the one kind of master data sets or linked databases. But another key lesson, this is a new book out about 2 weeks from 37 Signals in Chicago, Software Developers Remote. How easy it is to work, skip that one, how easy it is to work at the moment. And really, this is one of the original slides in the intro. BIM hype, BIM myth, BIM reality is definitely in the middle there. And if it's about the iStruct-D, which I'm a member of, it's all about, we say it's art and science and structural engineering. Well, the science is a given. It's like process is a given, safety, function, economy. The art is how we do it. And everyone in their own profession does it well, does it really well, does it okay, and does it a bit average, and we've seen stuff around the place. So another key lesson, should I work for free? This is Jessica Hirsch in the UK. You see there's lots of no's around there, and it was a voluntary project, so definitely a life lesson is that we don't want to work for free. There's been a huge effort by members of the team, Austin Reddy's, Kathy Malloy, Trevor Woods, Bernard, myself, and particularly Colin, and also others. People had different inputs at different times. And this is a future one. I'll probably skip that of what you can do when people ask you to do stuff for free. That's what you should say. But I just very quickly, conclusions. So it's been the future. Yeah, for me it's a no-brainer, but it's so is lean thinking, design thinking, and new ways of working and communicating. All devices shouldn't be about what device or hardware you use. It should be about, how well are you able to work with all different kinds of people, because on all different kinds of people thrown into that mix. So it's all just different technologies for our age, but it really is no real understanding, without no value without any real understanding of kind of the assumptions you're being made, or that the software application is making. Software applications, they're all driven by rules and assumptions. And John Ruskin, so with value and cost, it's unwise to pay too much, but it's worse to pay too little. When you pay too much, you lose a little money, that's all. When you pay too little, you might lose everything, because the thing that you bought was not able to do, to buy the thing you bought it to do. So that's really the lesson. So back to Confucius, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. Well, we did, and we understand, well, a little bit better than we did before. Thanks very much.